Welcome to another module of research methodology, methods of collecting primary data. Let me start from the concept of data and information. Data is the raw facts which does not carry any specific meaning. Data is the unprocessed facts collected in its original form. When data is processed, it becomes information. Information is the organized and processed form of data which is meaningful. So the data is the raw facts which does not carry any specific meaning. When the data is processed, it becomes information. So information is the processed data, or it is the organized and processed form of data which is meaningful. Example of data and information. The age collected from 30 respondents are given here. It is an example of data. When it is processed, it becomes information. Here, the data is processed and it is arranged in a table. 5 respondents are below 20 years of age. Then in between 20 and 40 years of age, there are 15 respondents. Then in between 41 and 60 years of age, 9 respondents, and only 1 respondent is above 60 years of age. Types of data. Two types of data is used in research. First one, primary data. It is the original data collected by the researcher for the first time with a specific purpose. So it is the original data collected by the researcher or his agents. Then second one is the secondary data. It is the data which have been already collected by somebody for their purpose and usable in research. So it is not collected by the researcher. It is collected by somebody else for their purpose, but it can be used in research. Then what is primary data? Primary data is the data collected by the researcher or his agents for the purpose of the research. So it is collected by the researcher for his purpose. It is the original and first-hand data collected as per the requirements of the research work. So this data is collected as per the objectives of the research, as per the requirements of the research. Researchers have high degree of control over primary data because the primary data is collected by the researcher for his purpose. Collection of primary data is expensive, time consuming, and requires good effort. What are the features of primary data? Primary data are original data collected by the researcher for his purpose. Primary data are expensive. Collection of primary data needs a lot of money. Collection of data takes considerable time and effort. Collection of primary data needs considerable time and effort. They are best suited to the research objective because it is collected as per the requirements of the research. They are collected deliberately. That means they are collected consciously and intentionally. It consists of quantitative and qualitative data. Primary data consists of both quantitative and qualitative data. It is to be cleaned, processed, and analyzed before use. It is in the form of raw facts. It is to be cleaned, processed, and analyzed before use. That means it is to be converted into information. Specific methods and tools are used for the collection of primary data. Specific methods such as observation, interview, experimentation, etc. are used for the collection of primary data, and specific tools such as questionnaires, inventory schedules, etc. are used for the collection of primary data. Methods of collecting primary data. There are a lot of methods for the collection of primary data. The important methods are observation, experimentation, survey, interview, projective techniques, and others. Let me start from observation. It is a way of collecting primary data through observing or monitoring something or someone. So observation is the monitoring of a human being or material objects. In observation, researchers use all of their senses to examine people and objects. So sense organs are used to examine people and objects in observation. Observation may take place in a natural situation, real life settings, or in a laboratory. For example, observing an employee regularly working in a factory is an example of observation in natural situation. But if the employee is observed in a presetted working environment specifically created for the purpose, it is an example of real life settings. The observation can also be conducted in a laboratory. Researcher captures and record data on what participants do or how do they behave. Perceiving data through senses, sight, hearing, taste, touch, and smell. So in observation, the data is perceived through senses. That means sight, hearing, taste, touch, and smell. It is also used in conjunction with other methods of data collection. That means the observation can be used along with the other methods of data collection such as survey, interview, etc. Case study is a type of observational research that involves a thorough descriptive analysis of a single individual, group, or event. Observation includes sensation, attention, and perception. So the major elements of observation are sensation, attention, and perception. Next topic, types of observation or approaches of observation. First one, participant observation. Here the researcher becomes a member of the subject's group while observing. So the researcher will be a member of the observed group. For example, employees in a factory is observed by a manager who is also working along with them. Then non-participant observation. The researcher does not become a member of the group he is observing. He can observe directly or by using mechanical devices such as camera. So here the researcher does not become the member of the group. He can observe directly or he can observe by using a CCTV camera. Then structured observation. It is a pre-planned and systematic observation by using observation schedules or checklist. In this case, an observation schedule or checklist is prepared well in advance. That means it contains what is to be observed. Researcher has prior knowledge about what is to be observed and how the measurement is to be recorded. Then unstructured observation. All behavior of the targeted group is observed without any planning or observation schedule. Here there is no observation schedule or pre-planned procedure. It is flexible, non-systematic and unplanned method of observation in which there is no rules to be followed by the researcher. The naturalistic observation, observing behavior in natural settings without any manipulation or intervention is called naturalistic observation. For example, the employees in a factory are observed in a natural situation. Then controlled or laboratory observation, observing behavior in a controlled or lab setting, usually used in experimental studies. If the employees are observed in a preset environment specifically designed for the purpose of observation, is a controlled or laboratory observation. Then open observation, the process of monitoring people who know that they are being watched. In open observation, the observed people know they are being watched. Then disguised observation, the process of monitoring people who do not know they are being watched. So in disguised observation, the people observed do not know they are being watched. Then direct or human observation. Observation of an event or group personally by the observer. Observer is physically present while observing. Observer will be physically present at the spot while observing in direct observation. Then indirect or technology mediated or machine observation. Here the observation with the help of mechanical or electronic devices such as CCTV cameras are done. So in indirect observation, the observation is done with the help of mechanical or electronic devices. Then what are the steps in observation? First one, planning for observation. We have to identify the objectives of observation, determining what will be observed, when and where observation will be made, etc. Then second one, develop the observation schedule or checklist which contains the elements of observation or what is to be observed. Then conduct observation. Then recording the observation. The observation result is to be recorded in a proper format. Then analyze and interpret the recorded information is the last stage. The second method of collecting primary data is experimentation. It is the most scientific approach to research. Experimentation involves the manipulation of one variable to determine its effect on other variable. Independent variable is manipulated to measure and record its effect on dependent variable. So in experimentation, independent variable is generally manipulated. It is controlled study in which the researcher tries to analyze cause and effect relationship. Example, in a marketing research, a restaurant make changes in the ingredient of coffee. So it is the independent variable, and studies customer responses and satisfaction, that is the dependent variable. So a restaurant makes changes in the ingredient of coffee and studies customer responses and satisfaction towards each variant of coffee. The third method of collecting primary data is interview. Interview is a purposeful discussion where questions are asked by the interviewer to elicit information from the respondents or interviewee. Interview is the verbal conversation between two or more people with the objective of collecting relevant information for the purpose of research. It is helpful to collect in-depth information or participants' experiences. Interview can be conducted either face-to-face or through electronic media such as telephone, internet, etc. It is generally considered as a qualitative research method, but quantitative data can also be collected through interview. What are the stages of an interview? First one, preparation. It is the planning stage of interview. So planning the interview and the preparation of interview schedule. The interview schedule which contain questions to be asked is to be prepared. Then booking appointment. That means the appointment is to be booked. Then rapport building, making him believe that his responses are very important in research. So the interviewer should make the interviewee believe that his responses are very important. Introduction is the next stage. Introducing himself, the researcher has to introduce himself. Then the research topic and purpose of interview should also be introduced. Then discussion is, it is the question answer session of interview. Then probing, that means encouraging respondents to answer. The interviewer has to encourage respondent to answer through proper means. Then recording is the next stage, recording the response in an inventory schedule or other media. Then closing stage, that means concluding and closing the interview session. There are different types of interview. What are the different types of interview? First one, structured, semi-structured and unstructured interview. Structured interview is a pre-planned interview conducted with an interview schedule and definite questions. So in structured interview, the interview will be pre-planned. A structured interview schedule will be prepared with definite questions. In semi-structured interview, interview schedule may be prepared, but the interviewer does not strictly follow formalized list of questions. So here the interview schedule may be prepared, but the interviewer may ask some other questions which are not included in the interview schedule. Then unstructured interview is a non-directive interview in which there is no specific set of predetermined questions. So in unstructured interview, there will be no interview schedule or predetermined questions. The interviewer asks questions which come to the mind on the spot. The next, face-to-face interview, in-person interview or in-depth interview. It is a one-on-one interview in which both interviewer and interviewee physically present in a common place. So here the interviewer and interviewee physically present in a common place and communicate each other. Then telephone interview. It is an interview conducted through telephone or mobile phone. Then online interview. It is the interview conducted through online video conferencing platforms such as Zoom, Google Meet, etc. Then focus group interview. It is the interview conducted with the diverse group of participants. So it is not an conversation between two persons. It is the interview conducted with the diverse group of participants. The fourth method of collecting primary data is survey. Survey is a non-experimental descriptive research method used for collecting data from the universe or population. Survey is the collection of data attained by asking individual questions either in person, on paper, by phone or online. So the survey can be conducted in person or paper or in the form of a questionnaire or by phone or online. Data may be collected either from each and every unit of the population, it is called census survey, or from the representative part of the population called census survey. If the data is collected from each and every unit of the population, it is called census survey. If it is collected only from the representative part of the population, it is called census survey. Questionnaires, interview schedules, etc. are generally used to collect data in surveys. The fifth method of data collection is projective techniques. It is a qualitative research method developed by psychologists to infer about underlying motives and inner features which are not revealed by the respondent. So it is developed by psychologists to infer about underlying motives and inner features of human beings which are not naturally revealed by the respondents. It is an indirect means of questioning. Here there is no questioning, but the data is acquired through some indirect method. A wide variety of projective techniques are available. It may be classified into visual, verbal, and expressive techniques. There are a lot of projective techniques which may be classified into three categories: visual, verbal, and expressive. The examples of visual projective techniques are Rorschach's ink blot test, thematic appreciation test, TAT, then Rosenweig test, picture frustration test, etc. For example, in Rorschach's ink blot test, 10 ink blots of different colors were prepared and the respondents are asked to describe what he see or think about it. Then examples of verbal projective techniques: word association test, sentence completion test, story completion test, etc. For example, in story completion test, the first part of a story is given and the respondent is asked to complete the story through imagination. Then expressive techniques, role play, drawing, painting, etc. are the examples of expressive projective techniques. The next method of collecting primary data is content analysis. What is content analysis? Content analysis is the study of the content of text documents and other forms of human communication. So in content analysis, the content of text documents or the content of human communications are analyzed. What are these human communications? It is the analysis of written or recorded human communications such as books, journals, websites, paintings, laws, etc. All of these books, journals, websites, paintings, laws, etc. are used to communicate the ideas, thoughts, innovations, inferences, creativity, etc. of human beings, and the content of these human communications are analyzed in content analysis. It is a method of qualitative research. Content analysis is a research technique used to make replicable and valid inferences by interpreting and coding textual, oral, and visual material. So the content of textual, oral, or visual materials are analyzed in content analysis. By systematically evaluating contents, qualitative data is converted into quantitative data. For example, preparation of a review paper. A review paper is prepared by reviewing number of research papers in a particular area. So a review paper is the summary of many research papers. So the preparation of a review paper is an example of content analysis. Then steps in content analysis. First one, identify data sources. Then read or examine the data to make familiarized with it. Then code the content, that means summarize or sort responses into groups. Then analyze and present the result. The next method of data collection is sociometry technique. Sociometry technique is developed by Jacob L. Moreno. It is a method of measuring social relationship exist among the members of a group. So sociometry techniques are used to measure the social relationship exist among the members of a group. It helps to reveal the structure of social relations, patterns of friendship, acceptance and rejections, etc. among the members of a group. So social relationship is measured through sociometry techniques. He developed a sociogram, a graphic representation of relationship, and is used to identify star. Star is the most accepted person in a group. Then cliques. Cliques are three or more persons within a group who are close and choose each other. And the last one, isolate. Isolates are least accepted persons in a group who are not chosen by others. So sociometric techniques are used to measure the relationship between the members of a group and to identify the acceptance and rejections among the members of these groups. The next method is focus group discussion. It is a method of qualitative research used to understand people's thoughts and feelings. It is the discussion among a small group of person, which is called a focus group with a trained moderator. So it is a discussion among a small group of person. This small group of person is called a focus group, and there will be a trained moderator to lead the session. It is usually conducted by inviting 6 to 10 people. Generally, a focus group consists of 6 to 10 people to gather for a few hours with a trained moderator to talk about a product, service, or organization. Through this discussion, the people's thoughts and feelings towards the product, service, or organization is revealed. The participants are asked about their perceptions, ideas, beliefs, and opinions about certain aspects. The next method of collecting primary data is simulation. Simulation is the process of designing a working model of a real world process to study about the process. We want to study about a real world process, and we are making a working model of this real world process to study about it. In simulation method, data is collected by conducting experiments on a symbolic model. So we will produce a symbolic model or a working model, and the data is collected by conducting experiments on this symbolic model. It is the imitation of an operation of a real world process for the purpose of clarifying or explaining the underlying mechanism involved. For example, stock market simulation apps can be used to study about stock markets. Number of stock market simulation apps are available that can be used to understand the stock market. Then the last one, marketing or consumer research methods. In business, number of marketing or consumer research methods are used to collect data about customers, market, etc. The following methods of data collection is used in marketing research to collect data about the preferences and behavior of consumers: warranty cards, distribution audit, pantry audit, consumer panel, etc. The first one is warranty cards. It is a method of data collection used in business or marketing. In this method, postal size cards are used by dealers of consumer durables to collect information regarding their products. So these warranty cards are postal size cards. These are used by dealers of consumer durables to collect information. Information needed is printed in the form of questions. Information needed is printed in the form of questions on the warranty card. These pre-stamped cards placed inside the package of the product with a request to send back to the dealer. So these cards will be pre-stamped and there will be a request to fill and send back to the dealer. The next one is distributor audit or store audit. It is a method used by dealers or distributors of goods to collect data from their retail stores. So it is used to collect data from retail stores. Salesmen are sent to these retail stores at regular intervals. These dealers send salesmen to these retail stores at regular intervals. Data is generally obtained by observation at sales points by the salesmen sent. Then it is done to estimate market size, market share, seasonal purchasing pattern, etc. The next method is pantry audit. In this method, data is recorded by observing or examining consumers' pantry. Consumer pantry is the shopping basket. For example, in a supermarket, consumer pantry is the shopping basket used to collect goods from display racks. Investigator collects an inventory of type of goods, brands, quantities, and prices of commodities purchased by the consumer. By examining this consumer pantry, the investigator collects the details of goods purchased, brands purchased, quantities purchased, and prices of those commodities which are purchased by the consumer. Content of the pantry accurately portrays consumers' preferences. The last method is the consumer panel. It is the extension of pantry audit approach on a regular basis. That means a set of consumers are selected and observed regularly. Selected sample consumers are interviewed and their pantries are observed repeatedly over a period of time. It may be transitory, that means before and after an event such as an advertisement campaign or offer period. That means some consumers are selected and they will be observed before and after the advertisement, then continuing, that means data collected for an indefinite period from these consumers. These are all the important methods of collecting primary data, particularly in business. Let me summarize the topic. In this module, I have explained what is primary data and what are the different methods of collecting primary data. The methods of collecting primary data includes observation, experimentation, interview, survey, projective techniques, sociometry techniques, focus group discussion, simulation, content analysis, etc. And there are some methods used in business and marketing called marketing methods. It consists of warranty cards, distributor audit, pantry audit, consumer panels, etc. Thank you.